last week, a week ago, no demos. Benedict, nothing interesting. I don't remember anything, so must have been quiet. Today, do we have demos?
I'll do an update on the OpenAI stuff or the AI stuff.
Okay. And topics. Say anything if you want to say anything about anything. Status, Orchard 1, Orchard 1. I think Orchard Core, check 25. Here, asset manager fixes because it needs fixes. This is formatting. This is a minified file that is not super minified. It's not a minified file, maybe. MJS. This is an MJS file. What is MJS? I feel like I know what it is, but JavaScript. ES6 modules. Okay. Modules files. Okay, they are not minified. And it's not for minified. So MJS, this one is just this one is the generated one. Okay, so the generation has changed. Okay, you folder the name. Okay. Corepack documentation. Run the Corepack enable is admin, which is on Windows. Reset cached content elements when tuning the item. The content item. This is because we do cache content items. And these content items can be read by multiple concurrent requests because they are cached, for instance, in the regex layer. And when it's done, happens that there is these private field, protected field data, so elements, where is elements? Somewhere here. That is a local cache for the content item to store visualized nodes of the data JSON object. So we don't have to visualize it every time we read it. Example, a part is visualized this way in time. And this thing is not thread-safe dictionary of elements. So when two requests to display the same layer at the same time and try to access the same dictionary, it could be an issue. So this is not what this PI is doing.
Yeah, let's see other PR.
So I will switch.
Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. This one then, so I explained the issue, but this one is solving the problem by cloning the content item before it's returned from the cache, or at least used by the cache. And this clone here will clone an element that is empty. So when the view is rendered, the elements will be populated lazily on demand, but only for the current content item that is the clone. So there can't be any conflicts. So the content item is still not thread safe, but in this case, we just clone it when it's returned from the cache. So we don't have to load the JSON document again, but still deserialize some parts when it's rendered. Then I will come back on this one, which was about resetting elements. There were two issues related to that, right? So this one, can you explain? I don't remember.
This is just if you clone an element, it's not resetting the deserialized data. So if you set the JSON object to new to another one,
Right.
The cache does not match the data.
Okay, so when we update the data, we need to clear the contents which are cached version of the data. Cool.
Right.
Thank you. Then they updated Epsilon and AWS SDK. Yeah, font contributor. Fixed label display initialization in forms. Some UI glitches, form element label management. Okay. I won't look at the details, but nice commit message. Fixed label display initialization in forms. And finally, this one, resource dependencies fixes and view 3. Resource dependencies fixes. A lot of static content was regenerated, like everything. We have map files now. You see all these map files. And hopefully, these map files are used.
Awesome.
Are they used? Does anyone know? Following that, George, you must know that.
No.
You don't know, or they are
no
not used?
clue about this.
Okay. At least they're generated.
I was commenting because I had some issues. If I build with a new asset manager, I get 2 files modified. And the same's Antran, I guess, had the same problem. And we did not figure it out.
If I click there, this isn't the same file, right? I'm confused here. Yeah, there is a problem here.
Just joining. That's helpful here.
There is a bug here because the same file is created with v-admin dash and d-admin. So maybe there are two assets. There is an assets file that points to there is an issue with the dashes here.
Probably I need to remove it, but normally yarn clean should have cleaned up these. I'll take a look.
Okay, so probably some assets was changed to value the dash, but the old files are still there.
Yeah, it's a merge conflict from one branch to the other. It just merged both.
So before you join, we asked ourselves a question, which is, we see the map files now, and I assume the files are used in the JS files, the map files.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the prod one. If there's a prod.js, then it's adding a line at the end of that file, which makes a reference to the map file.
Prod. So if I take this one,
yeah,
that's kind of, to me, it's kind of weird because I would have expected that.
Oh, we don't see that line. It's strange.
I would have expected the suffix to be just for development, like .debug.js to not have the map and the .js to have the map. So we just use a normal name for prod, but with a debug name for. That's my.
Yeah, the issue is that Parcel doesn't allow me to change the name of the output asset. So the thing is that if you're passing a .ts file which imports a .scss file, it will output 2 files. So Parcel just takes the name of the file that you're passing it to and then creates an output file which has the same name.
So why
And-
is the prod file supposed to point to a source map? Because it's just for debugging.
The prod one
opposite?
doesn't. The prod one doesn't have the reference because we don't
Okay.
want to have a map file, and then
Okay,
maybe
that's what I understood. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
IntelliSense, liquid-IntelliSense, liquid-IntelliSense. In this one, you say should have the map file. It has. But this one, yeah, this one is minified and has the map file. And you say this is the debug one.
Yeah.
Because it points to the map file. Interesting. Can you change the name prod to min? Like it was before?
Yes, I think I can do that.
It's weird otherwise to have the
But
word
it's yeah,
prod.
it's because both files are minified now.
I know,
so
I know, but it's just prod. And this way we keep the same logic as before. We have the .js, which is the debug one. It happens to be minified and point to the source map. And there is the min, which is just minified, but without the source map. So I feel it's better.
Yeah, it's
For
an
me.
easy change.
It's just I feel better with min than with prod. Okay, cool. Thank you. Questions, comments, or OpenAI? What do you prefer, questions or OpenAI?
I would have a short demo.
Or short demo?
About the website.
About the website. Okay, go on. Please.
All right. I will go ahead and share my screen. So this is about the website repository, as you can see, which is the repository of OrchardCore.net, of course. This has been a long-outstanding problem that this fixes is that we couldn't actually deploy because if we wanted to keep the content of the websites editable online, so not overwrite the app data folder, or at least not overwrite the SQLite database of the website, then we need a new deployment workflow because the previous one has overwritten everything. This came up during the last Orchard Harvest when we actually wanted to keep updating the content of the website online. So there was also some issue with the .NET Foundation provided Azure subscription, or rather us not having access to that, but that was fixed, and now the deployment workflow is also fixed. And a couple of other things, like we also have a CI workflow now. So if you are a maintainer or otherwise you like to work on the website, now what you can do is, well, just work on it, open a pull request as usual, and when the pull request is merged, or when otherwise there's a commit to the main branch, then a deployment will automatically happen. Actually, the last one failed. I need to fix some configuration, but after that, the deployment will actually succeed. And here under deployments, we'll see production. This will always point to this GitHub Actions deployment page. If you haven't seen that, it's a pretty basic hub for deployment, but really the point is that it lists all the latest deployment related GitHub Actions runs. Well, as you can see, there was a passing one yesterday, and there was a failing one that I've just run at the beginning of the meeting, but I will fix that. Otherwise, this will always point to the latest deployment. And this now doesn't overwrite the database, doesn't overwrite any data that the website is working with. It just works as you would expect. So pretty much that's the news. We have a couple of outstanding issues for the website if you are interested, like upgrading to 2.1.6 currently because it runs on 1.8.2 or something, and a couple of other housekeeping issues. But otherwise, now we are at least unblocked. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike.
All right. Let's share my screen. See my screen?
I know that.
All right. So there's actually a lot of things have changed back end. So if you look at the features now, there's actually more features. If you've been following then all the demos that I've had, you'll notice a few more features that were added. One of them was the AI chat. So what I did is I abstracted all the AI interface, the chat interface into its own feature, so that if you want to utilize the AI module without the chat, then you're able to with no issue. The minute you enable, well, here you'll notice there's nothing here, but when you enable the chat, you'll see a lot more options. And the reason why these are options here is because these are chat profiles that I've enabled and previously created. So if you go click on the profiles, you'll see that there's 4 chat profiles that I have listed, which they're all here because I have them added to the menu. So that way I can interact. Another thing that was done was adding also an API. So if you want to interact with an API, chat API, you're able to enable that feature, and you'll be able to call the services using web APIs. Another thing that was added, which was new, which is AI connection management. So you can actually enable this feature, and this will allow you to define connections using a UI. You can click on add new connection, and then you can enable whichever one you want. You have OpenAI, Azure OpenAI. Right now, I think there's also inference. I'm not sure. I think there's also one more, which is inference. Maybe the feature is disabled. So you can go in here, you can click on an AI, and then you can provide the endpoint to any provider, and then the key, and then you'll be able to connect to it. So any providers, or a lot of providers that adhere to the OpenAI requirement. And so you can just plug in like DeepSeek, you can just put in the DeepSeek connection here, and it will allow you to connect to it. So here I created an OpenAI connection called DeepSeek, and this one, it's connected to the API DeepSeek, and I've previously put in my API key, and I'm able to connect to it. Another thing that was done, what else was done here? Oh, there's another thing that was done. It's not very useful just yet, but I'll share it. Oh, this is the inference, the Azure AI inference chat. I'll enable it as well. So another thing was done that there's not a very good example for it, but I think it will definitely be useful down the line, which is called right here, AI tool management. So if you enable this feature, now you'll see tools in here. And what tools in OpenAI, it's a way to allow you to call functionality. Like, for example, if you're trying to get the current weather, that's the most common example. You'll be able to create a function, and this function will call an API that will provide the weather. And it will give it to the OpenAI model, and the AI model will use that information to generate a response. But I just felt it's a missing piece for us, or for me here, is that we want to be able to create instances. So for example, if you want to create a weather function, you might want multiple weather services. You might want a service that calls one provider and another one that calls another provider. Like, for example, maybe you have a US service and maybe you have a Canadian service, right? You might want to be able to create that. So what I did here is that you're able to create an instance of a tool. The example that I followed is that how can I have one profile invokes another profile? So let's say I have a profile that generates images. So I can go in here and create a profile that will allow me to create images. I don't have that yet, but assume that we'll have it. Then how can I have, how can I just go to like my local chat here and say, hey, generate an image for me? Well, this profile doesn't really know how to generate an image. So instead, what it does, it will invoke another profile saying, hey, can you handle creating images for me? And it will provide you the image and it will respond to it. So from the user perspective, it will be a seamless integration. And for the user, it will be all UI. So I can click in here and say, add an instance. And there's a profile invoker source that I can add. And then in here, I can select whichever profile that I want to create. And then let's say invoke LeapSeek. And I think this is also required. We're not going to use it. But so what this does now, if you go to another profile like local chat here, you're able to see that instance right here. And you can say, I want to select this instance to make it available for this profile. And so this is the idea behind the tool instances. Again, it's not very useful right now, but it's very useful if you're trying to call another API to generate other stuff. Like in this case, will be great for creating images. What else? What else was done? Oh, another thing that was done is the UI here. So this is an instance that will connect to my local Ollama service. I can say what is AI, and you'll see that here this changed, and now you'll see a streaming effect. Before we didn't have that streaming effect. It is slow because I think it's the first request I make on my Ollama, and that usually takes a minute. So let's just give it a few seconds. So you'll see here, if I hit pause, I'll pause the request and I'll cancel it. But I'm just going to let it so it can warm up. On the right side here, you'll see the most recent interaction. This didn't change. But it's kind of neat to be able to stream the minute that the OpenAI model generate, or the AI model generate content, you'll see it right on your screen. Meanwhile, you'll get this bobblehead here. Should be coming up. And this is just because it's an Ollama, probably warming up locally. It's trying to get me to respond. That should be done. I would cancel it, but if I cancel it and I try to make another request, it will take us long. But then if I follow up, oh, there you go. So you see now the responses come in, and I can, pause it if I want to, and I can just let it be. So we'll continue to go all the way through. And this is formatted. You notice that there's formatting here. What is OpenAI? And so you'll see here, I'm just going to stop it, and it stops. What is the seek? And so you'll see how it's functioning as it should, and you can just pause it if you don't care for that response. What else? I think this covers. Code-wise, I've refactored a lot of things to make it more reusable for me, because I've noticed like this UI, I'm using it almost in every single screen. So I made an abstraction for me so I don't have to create, similar objects all over the place. So I can just easily create those interfaces. And I think this is all of it. I just double check here. Yeah. Oh, and then another thing it's kind of neat to see. I've shared a screenshot before, but if you go in here, this Orchard Core Docs, it actually searching my knowledge base. So I've created articles here, and those articles are locally hosted. I just copied and pasted a bunch of documents from Orchard Core. You see them, and I'm indexing those using Azure Index. So I have an Azure Index here that that I created. And then what I can do in here is I can click here and I can say how to configure for example. And you'll see now it's coming up and it's even referencing, you notice here, it's giving me references. So if I click on my reference, you'll see this is on my website, my local instance. What about CMS? I don't know, but there's documents, but there you go.
Can you ask it to generate a liquid template?
Well, you can ask that to public. Yeah, but not this one.
Not with the content you indexed, but you could.
You could, yeah. So you can say, well, this one right here doesn't really have all the Orchard documents.
Yeah.
So I wasn't trying to replicate that. This is just me trying to make sure I'm able to communicate with my index. So here I can say, what is AI? And it might not know what to answer because this is only my data. Oh, giving me something because Azure Search, what is, okay, I might not know that. Well, it shouldn't know that. I don't think. Well, I guess it did. But if you go to like Azure Chat, which is just a standard, and you can say generates liquid.
In this case, it will use their model that are defined.
Correct. Yes, exactly. Yes, this is using the public liquid, and it will know, and you should be able to generate. Whereas this one is strictly for my document. So it's searching against my own data, which is really good for like an enterprise because enterprises, they don't really trust AI to expose it to their employees. But what this allows them is that they can just put all their data and then they can utilize this interface to connect to their data only, and they'll be able to respond strictly against their data. It's really, really useful. And yeah, so, and then here it's a DeepSeek instance and so on. So I think I covered everything. Let me know if you guys have any questions, but this is coming along. All right, sounds like no one.
Thank you.
Questions. You're welcome.
Other topics? Questions? So we'll have a look at PRM issues then, just to see how it's going. 13 PRs. This is a new one. We commented on that last week when triage. There are some security concerns. We'll see what's up with that. Save and continue button here. Okay, somebody is looking at it apparently. Zoltan is tracking the work on that one.
Yep.
Good. Assets manager doc. Assets manager. This is the JS line. Cool. Updating these instructions based on Zoltan's experience with the latest release. This is an old one now. Has it progressed? Okay, so Jean-Claude is now helping. Cool. And breaking change, well, expected breaking changes, namespaces, true, view 3, was it updated recently? I don't know. Sure. And this one needs triage. Hopefully Thursday we'll be able to look at this one. Issues. Let's see, there are some issues in the last week, a few issues. Issues. the bad picture makes it down. Okay. The previous in a mean. Same users as file multiple issues. It's good. You'll find the admin menu. Is that a joke? When is the 1st of April? Oh, it's soon. Less than a month. Okay, and then that we saw last week. Good. That's the update. This one, I'd love someone to do that. It's an easy one. It's an easy one. Surprised Hisham hasn't done that yet. We just need to add an if either on net 10 or net 9, just so that we can not generate a method if we detect we are running on the net 10. It won't impact anything. We can ship it today. It's cool. It's just if it runs on the net 10, we won't generate the thing that conflicts with the net 10. This one. That's it. Questions, comments, or we are done for the day?
I think we are done.
Thanks, everyone. See you on Thursday or next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.